Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is moving around, so we'll see if he's able to join us. It's weather down here. It's going to be one of those weather weekends. Hopefully it doesn't cause too many distractions for folks trying to get to Tallahassee that are celebrating the SWAC Championship game. We're going to give you your second edition of insights of what that looks like this time, on Tuesday, just before we get in what we're going to do today in terms of breaking down the SWAC Championship game, which is going to look at what do each team have to do for a victory. What does a victory look like for Florida A&M? What does a victory look like for Prairie View A&M? With that being said, the Panthers and the Rattlers in the mix. On Tuesday, we broke down the offensive side of the ball for both teams. We also broke down the defensive side of the ball and then special teams for the Rattlers and the Panthers between Mike and Charles. With that being said, welcome to episode 465 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NIVC to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Today, we have Bryan Fulford coming in, doing a little pinch up as well, making sure we have a voice from the Rattlers and our sidekicks over there at Bryan and AD for the SportsWrap, all on BCSN, where we give you total sports. Right now, man, last 2 years, man, Charles and Mike were in it, high heaven, particularly 2 years ago when it was Prairie View A&M Panthers and Jackson State Tigers. Both of them strutting around like peacock. I think the biggest peacock out there, though, was none other than Charles Bishop. Well, this year, the peacock strutting went down south a little more. They went over there to Florida, and we got none other than Bryan Fulford. As he's sitting up there strutting a little bit, the big peacock. Still got the Panthers from Mike over there strutting some. And then look at this. Charles pinch hitter, man. Charles be putting in work. He never loses. He was over there in Jackson State. Then he got a little love, Texas Southern University. Degrees of both, getting some work put in. Then he finds a way down to Prairie View. They said they gonna bring you college down there. I thought he was LeBron James or some way these days. So now you got a little love for Prairie View. Boy, I tell you, boy, you was a bad boy. I'm not mad at you for that. With that being said, as we said, welcome to episode 465 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. That's the NIVC and the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. Simply put, we call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As I said, Mike Washington is making moves. AD Drew is making moves. They'll probably pop in here to kind of give you some love. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live, KSOH 1230 AM Studios, Texas Radio Hall of Famer, and Ralph Cooper. As you can tell, I am at home. I'm fighting the rain, got out early, got my rain books. I'm still coming to Tallahassee, Bryan, so don't think we going to run scared around these parts here. Just letting you know.
I'm just checking, Mike.
I know sheriffs around here, so I got gun and will travel. Hey,
I'm just checking.
I don't know if it's the worst state in terms of gun control anyway, so it ain't no problem. We'll just figure it out. Yeah, hell, it's not like you can't probably buy a gun when you get down there the first day you're there. Pick it out. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's another side. I'm sorry. We're gonna stick to sports. Get a little ugly out there. We want everybody safe and sound. We just playing. Some of y'all wild out there.
Yeah.
Beautiful home of Texas Southern University. So because of the rain, I did come home early, so we're delivering the show right there. That's enough for me. Let me get to these great guys out here. Charles Bishop, how you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Back on the road to recovery. Been under the weather a little bit this past week, but
sounding better, brother. Sounding better.
As you mentioned in the opener, I'm very appreciative for the work and the love that Texas Southern and Prairie View has also shown me as well. So, I have a vested interest in the SWAC championship game as well.
I know it. I like to see it, man. Something must be nice in there. Hey, that's a note to you other guys out there. You want to go to the championship game? Call Charles Bishop. With that being said, Bryan, how you doing today?
I'm great, Doc. Hey, I wonder, where's Mike Washington? He hiding? Is he hiding? Talking about he's on business. Nah, he's hiding. Where's Mike Washington at? I thought Mike Washington was going to be here. He been hiding all week. I missed the show Tuesday. I thought Mike was going to be here. I'm moving up. I'm ready, Doc. I'm ready.
I like that. That's the Rattlers that I know when they talk about strike. Let me do that. That hurt my fingers. Yes, but that's the ones I know. They look good at it. I love me some Rattlers, man. There's some proud people down there. It's nothing like the HBCU sporting culture, sporting HBCU diaspora, as I like to call it, sports pedagogy, because it all has the pride of folks that have in HBCU sports, but particularly in their HBCU, nothing like it. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. Hey, people put us in the mix. Coaching searches. We're working magic. If you want some of this magic, let us know, because we know what we're doing. Hey, I'm just saying. With that being said, let me not get myself in any more trouble. Yes. Let's go ahead and get some of this news of the day. Charles, what do you got going on?
Yeah, let's start things off. Howard to play in the NIVC Championship Tournament. The women's volleyball season for the Bison of Howard University has been extended with an invitation to the National Invitation Volleyball Championship. The Bison will play the St. John's Red Storm at 7 p.m. this Friday in Queens. Of course, Howard, they finished the 2023 regular season as the number 2 seed heading into the MEAC Volleyball Tournament after defeating the Bears from Oregon State in the quarterfinals and the Hornets from Delaware State. The Bison fell to the Eagles from Coppin State, who received the MEAC's automatic qualifying bid to the NCAA tournament. So shout out to Howard and their women's volleyball team for getting an invitation to the NIVC Championship Tournament.
Ooh-wee, good stuff. Bryan, what are your thoughts?
I didn't even know, I'll be honest, didn't know that there was a sort of that extra level for volleyball. I wish, what was Howard's record, by the way? I'm just curious. Because I know Coppin was the team that, was practically, like 24-4 or something like that. But I'm just thinking about our Lady Rattlers. I'm thinking about my the Lady Rattlers who were 2-time champs, lost in the championship to Jackson State. And, I wish their season could have kept going. But, I was just curious about records and all. That's all. But congratulations to Howard. Keep it going.
Yeah, they're doing well in terms of those records. They won the championship. They didn't win the championship. That went to Maryland Eastern Shore. No, I'm sorry. They went to Coppin State as they will face Pittsburgh in a round. As much as Jackson State winning the SWAC over the Rattlers, as you know, painfully, as much as it may be. But they will face number 1 Wisconsin. But when you talk about what that looks like, Howard's volleyball team and their record as they get the jumping, had a pretty solid season. But when you talk about these national tournaments, much like the NIT, you start to see them popping up a little bit for softball, volleyball. I think it's a good thing when that does happen in terms of those rosters. So they were 17-14 overall, 11-3 in terms of the conference play when you look at volleyball. I'm going to go back to you, Charles, and see what other direction you want to go with a little bit of news of the day.
Well, let's stay with volleyball. We'll talk about Coppin State. They'll face Pittsburgh. Coppin State, as we mentioned, they are the 2023 MEAC Conference volleyball champions. They'll face number 1 Pittsburgh in the opening round of the NCAA volleyball championship tournament. They will face Pittsburgh tomorrow, December 1st at 7 p.m. Jackson State, the winner of the SWAC Women's Volleyball Championship, they play tonight. They will take on Wisconsin tonight. So that game starts at 7:30. So I think
shout
both
out
will be
to Jack State Tigers, and they face daunting number 1 ranked Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So the fact is they earned their ticket to get the tournament, which is why you play. They get a chance to get it done and shock the world. If they get that victory, finding a way to go down. With that, I'm gonna go back to you, Brian. What are some thoughts? Any additional thoughts? Any news that you want to share?
Well, let me just add. Hey, while we're talking volleyball, I'm gonna make this pitch one more time. I did it earlier, but I would love for some entity to put together an opportunity, a MEAC SWAC. Give me Howard, Coppin, FAMU, Jackson State, Dell State, and Alabama State. Hey, yep. What would that be? 6 really good teams, and if somebody can't make it, grab Tennessee State. They've had a good program the last season or two. Let's bring these matchups together, because these matchups are not happening in the non-conference. Everybody's out playing other regional because it's advantageous to the rankings to play people in your area that you potentially might see. So I get all that, and then travel. But man, it'd be great to start the season off with a MEAC SWAC volleyball tournament. Give me 3. You know what I'm saying? I think that would really help the sport and help the brand. I know it's tough to try to do those things on the same weekend as the MEAC SWAC Challenge, but just think if somebody were thinking, you might be able to pull one off on a Friday night or Saturday. Might be enough time in the day.
Good point. Nice little roundup.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I would love to see that. When you talk about that, you see that a little more on the basketball side. That's another sport where you've had people clamor about that opportunity, but it just seems to kind of fall on deaf ears. But there's got to be a way to take advantage of that magic. For all things said, heck, we might have to find a way to get it done ourselves. Speaking of that, that Hampton versus Maryland Eastern Shore on the men's side has been postponed, canceled, because of illness and protecting some players in terms of that. So it sounds like it's been postponed, so it might be rescheduled. Before we get into any last news, I did want to share, to your point, you see it a little more on the men's side with these MEAC, SWAC matchups or independent HBCU programs, not in a formal tournament sense, but a lot of them are playing in tournaments, and at times they play each other in the tournaments. With that being said, check this out. Men's basketball D1, the MEAC is 4-0. Say it again. The MEAC is 4-0 against HBCU Division I programs. So that's both out of the SWAC and independent programs. They are 2-0 against the SWAC earlier this season. Men's SWAC means the SWAC against HBCU Division I opponents are 2-2. So 2 of the SWAC wins are against independent programs, because they are 0-2 against the MEAC. That victory that tied things up just came down yesterday, when overtime you had Alabama A&M defeating Tennessee State, that were playing some pretty good basketball, had 2 Division I wins on the season, had a record of 5. Alabama A&M came in 0-5 in that matchup. So big win to the Bulldogs out of SWAC. Credit to them. On the women's side, the MEAC is 1-0 against HBCU Division I opponents. They have not played a SWAC. They will have one SWAC matchup. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. And that is the only, there's also a SWAC versus one of the independent programs. So we'll keep you updated in terms of those matchups, since Brian brought it to the table for volleyball, looking at some MEAC SWAC. We also have some MEAC SWAC basketball as well as independent. So we'll keep you updated there. Charles?
Yeah, another couple of pieces of news sitting out there. Transfer portal news. A couple of individuals hitting the transfer portal. Keyshawn Johnson, all SWAC receiver from Alabama State, headed to the transfer portal. And Andrew Body. Andrew Body as well from Texas.
You You can't have him.
I didn't know that was
You can't have him. You can't have him, Doc.
Oh, transfer report is not quiet. That actually hits the media. Oh, my fault. All right. Yeah. I'm just teasing y'all. No, that's big news. Big news. I can tell you some of the backstories to that, but we're not going to do it on the show. I'll call y'all independently, let you know some of the backstories. I know how they went down, and it was different, I shall say. It wasn't as simple as just jumping into the transfer portal. You better make sure when you jump in there, you certainly have signed and have your place to go. But that being said, let's get into our first break, come back on the other side, and we'll get into some updates on the band news. But with that being said, let's tease it out a little bit. Shout out to Johnson C. Smith, Coach Steve Joyner Sr. Coached his 1,000th game. Yeah, that's 1,000 game. Big game. Johnson C. Smith, University guard Ezekiel Kennedy dropped a game high 30 points, including 5 3-points. But it wasn't enough as the Golden Bulls saw their the 3-game win streak snapped by Coker University, falling 111-106 in the Johnson C. Smith Tip-Off Classic. Saturday game was the 1,000th game ever coached by head coach Steve Joyner in his 35-year career at Johnson C. Smith University. That's crazy. Congratulations on that milestone, which certainly is significant. If you hadn't heard by now, the Band of the Year 2023 finalists announced. HBCUGameDay.com, as they put it out there, the inaugural ESPN Band of the Year to award the top HBCU marching bands in Division I and Division II NIA, what we call major division, mid-major division. At the mid-major division, the 2 finalists is Division II level, and NIA is the NIA Florida Memorial, the Roar marching band against the Division II program of Virginia State, Trojan Explosion. And y'all need to start pitting these folks about the Trojan Explosion. It is what it is. Leave them alone. I'm just going to say that. Major Division II finalists for the Division I, what we call a major, is none other than North Carolina A&T, the blue and gold marching machine, and Jackson State Sonic Boom of the South. Charles told you all year that Jackson State was redefining what it meant to be in the marching sport as they were getting done. What is unique as Bryan decided to have a little fun out there in the Twitter world, formerly known as Twitter, that is X now, that he said that North Carolina A&T as an institution, university, is 4-0 in Atlanta. I think it's a little greater than that, because he's talking about the celebration era, as Charles knows that there were a couple of classic games between Jackson State A&T. So I don't know if you want to count those as well. I'll tell you, they didn't go Jackson State way. That's a different discussion. But to say Jackson State is just as 0-2. So it will be a chance for Jackson State to make a statement over North Carolina.
I just report the news, Doc. Just facts, just numbers, Doc. That's all. That's all.
Redemption Saturday next weekend. Redemption Saturday, Celebration Bowl weekend. I think Sonic Boom of the South was a whole monster this year.
Yes, I heard that. And it's Friday night. To make sure it will be that weekend in terms of Friday night when it goes down with the show. Be interesting. We'll get a little more news next week. We'll see if we can get some interviews with those involved in putting that together. But the ESPN Band of the Year title will be determined December 15th. Mercedes-Benz Dome, Atlanta, Georgia. The show starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's local time. It will be simulcast on ESPN3 and ESPN Plus. For tickets, which are $20, you can go to bandoftheyear.com. Bandoftheyear.com for tickets and more information about the event. With that, let's take our break. We'll come back on the other side.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody.
Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Test the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Just want to get in here a little bit and get into our band of the year, our top 7 for the marching sport poll rankings. And we can get into a little talk to see how different it was, how much you kind of agree with the alignment based on what we do on our side. It is frozen this week. We will hold it off until official announcement is made in terms of the band of the year national championship and see what that means for our band of the year. With that being said, we in our band focus more on matchups. With that being said, again, this week it's frozen. So we can pull that up in terms of the top 7 and give you just the update that saying number 7 was Albany State in terms of what they were able to do in those matchups. Yeah, Virginia State at 6. At number 5, as you see, is Clark Atlanta. At number 4 is Langston. At number 3 is Benedict. At number 2 is Winston-Salem State. Number 1 is Miles. Again, no changes to the polls. You do not see Florida Memorial. They were just outside of the top 7 many times this year. They were in the top 7. And it wasn't so much in terms of their performance. Very powerful band, led by Rattlers, my understanding. So a lot of kudos in terms of what they're getting done. Just restarted that band. But they are strong. But they just didn't happen to have enough band matchups to really qualify in ours. But they will play for a championship. And it will be against Virginia State. We did have Virginia State in our top 7, so we're excited to see that not only their musicianship and the 5 components of their band shows matched up in the National Band of the Year, but also they got out there quite a bit and had matchups. So it kind of matches. So you have one band in there with a lot of matchups that people may have seen versus a new band that people probably have not seen, particularly out of the state of Florida. So a good opportunity for both bands in terms of the acknowledgement, particularly when you think about the mid-major. A lot of the focus on marching sport, just like in football and to some degree basketball and the other Division I sports, tends to focus more on the major division. But this is a chance for these bands to get some exposure, and financially, there is a significant reward that is attached for being the finalists and being the champions associated with this matchup is what I'm going to call it, since it's for a championship. With that being said, let me go to you, Charles, and get your thoughts in terms of the finalists and how that aligns with the poll ranking and where you are in terms of who may come out of that matchup.
When you here's one thing that I've really enjoyed this past season, and it seems as though band directors are listening to us. I've noticed that I think bands are a little bit more in tune to the game. That is a big metric for me, and I'm appreciative that bands are starting to become aware that there's a football game being played. That's number 1. Number 2 is fan engagement. That has been another big thing that I think we've talked about on the show. And Doc, when we went to the MEAC SWAC celebration, Jackson State played a tune. The whole stands was singing with. I've seen more of that this past season. And then the third thing is marching sport competition. We've seen some bands, especially looking at those Thursday night games, bands getting on the road, going against each other. So I'm appreciative of the way you're starting to see bands kind of get the message. It's evolving even more, and hopefully we get even more fan engagement. We get even more bands traveling to the opposing team to sort of get those matchups. I think you have a great Final Four here. I've looked at Virginia State on YouTube. I've looked at Florida Memorial. A lot of people talk about Florida Memorial's performance down at Grambling. They have great sound, so looking forward to watching them. North Carolina A&T, they have this whole thematic theme that they do as far as a field show. Looking forward to seeing that. And then the Jackson State. Jackson State is just they don't mind taking a show on the road, and they have done that repeatedly this year, and they've held up tough. You know, they don't mind, you know, quote unquote, going to your house and taking it over. So, and you know, sometimes it's about, you know, did you, you know, not so much the technicality, but did you house the crowd? And Jackson State has actually done that quite a bit this year. So I'm looking forward to this Final Four. I think, you know, the selection is right on point.
And we'll take a little closer look at that and follow up, particularly on that matchup against A&T in another segment. But I like when you gave the example, the SWAC Challenge, now Jackson State got the fans involved. Understanding time and place in a game is important, but your number two of engagement, I agree with, is significant. And third, as we love to talk about, is the matchups. Great analysis when you break it down to 1, 2, and 3 in terms of how it is a beautiful thing when the HBCU sporting culture comes together with marching sport and, in these cases, the football game. But that is even true in terms of the pep band with basketball. So great points.
I love the synergy. I love it when it collides. When you have a game with something and the bands, they match that energy, and the fans raise that energy with it. So it's perfect.
It's nothing like it. To be frank with you, it's nothing like it when you talk about it. Let me go to you, Bryan, and get your thoughts in terms of the mid-major matchup. In this case, it's a Division II program in terms of athletics versus the NIA program. With that being said, so as you look into that, this particular matchup and how you heard the frozen rankings this week, what are your thoughts in terms of where this is going this weekend? Well, in a couple of weeks, I should say.
Well, first off, hey, look, I'm excited for Florida Memorial to be there. It's sort of a pseudo representative of the hundreds, and somehow the 100 wasn't good enough, according to the standards, to make it into the top 5 this year. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, the greatest band, the most replicated, duplicated, impersonated, copied band in America somehow is not good enough to be in the top 5. But anyway, it's good to see that our roots are represented at Florida Memorial. And I have heard that band, and they are fun. They are fun to listen to. So I'll, of course, be rooting for the Roar. Yeah, I will be rooting for the Roar. I mean, they represent us. And so I will be there backing them up. And I'll be watching to see if the Sonic Boom.
Save it, Charles. We got a whole segment on the major division. Bryan sees you coming. He's trying to be measured with his word. We're going to let y'all both have the floor. This is mid-major. Show the mid-major some love. Hold up. See, y'all just like I said, it's all about the major division. Can the mid-majors get some love? Just for a segment. I
did. Yes.
Now, you're fine, Bryan. You went off on a little bit, but Charles was about to light you up with that fire. I just asked him, he can light you up. We got a whole segment we're going to dedicate to that. I'm just holding the power. He already been holding out in terms of Jackson State. Here you come, Florida Memorial. They can't get no love with the Roar, and you want to bring in the 100. Talk about how they couldn't be the top 5 best band. Charles about to say best band. Look, y'all just slow down. In fact, let me go to a break. We'll come back on the other side. Y'all doing too much. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about some football so y'all can get out of your feelings. Stick with us. Be right back after this break.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah.
So you.
It is.
There's a Buick that fits your life. Because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Boy, I never had so much off segment talking about the bands between these guys. They usually they kind of reserved on the bands. Yeah, I know this, whatever. But when that pride kicks in, it can get good. With that being said, let's take a little time to get in this game, in this matchup. We'll spend some time on this segment and go a little bit to see what this looks like. I'm going to start with you, Charles. And from a Prairie View perspective, what does it look like for Prairie View to get some momentum? We're going to take this in halves, right? So we can really get into some detail. So in terms of the first half, to go in the locker room and the fans at Prairie View to be excited, for the football team to feel good, what has to take place for the Panthers for the first half of this matchup?
They have to dominate time of possession. They have to work hard to keep Florida A&M's offense off the field. And that's going to be tough going against the number one defense of the SWAC. But they've got to figure out a way to extend drives, especially on third down. And even if you don't get points, you extend drives, you dominate time of possession, but you've got to figure out a way to keep Florida A&M's offense off the field because just quite honestly, they're an explosive offense. I think we talked about the nuance going into this game. I think at last I looked at it was 80% chance of rain. That's something that you do have to factor in. And for me, Prairie View's running game has to absolutely show up. So they have to dominate time of possession.
I like that time of possession. If you would, either a score or at least a point differential. What does it look like for you to say, all right, Prairie View is in this matchup when they go in the half? What does that look like?
10-7. Has to be a low score. Yeah.
Good stuff. 3-point type game, whether it's winning or losing, and they're in that area, you would say that's a win for the first half with that matchup. I like it. Appreciate it. Bryan, going to you and your question, same type of question, but I want you to mix in because Charles talked a little bit because of the weather and how it's a factor. I think all of us believe it's a factor, but I got a chance to listen to ONG Strike Zone. I was trying to see if I could get a play or two so I could send down there to Prairie View, but you tried to get out of Coach Willie Simmons, but he's smart. He wouldn't really talk about his plays. I text him. All of a sudden, he's not answering his text from me. So, I told him he's going to get the state. And, you get it done, he might end up too. But he is about business. And credit to him because I love that he's focused. You could tell that he's all about business, which you can understand. This is a big game. But I was curious when he talked about the weather. And he said, regardless of the weather, is that weather exposes your techniques and stuff like that, right? So he says they practice certain things about techniques, good practice on the football field, holding the ball so you don't fumble. So regardless of the weather, if you are doing what you're supposed to, you should be fine, whether it's raining, snowing, or a sunny day. I like that. Tackling with a certain type of form. If you're doing that in what they teach and they do it all the time, regardless of the weather, you should be fine. So if you would, first half again, what does it look like for FAMU to feel like they really had a successful first half? And this is intriguing for me to see you answer because you follow the Rattlers more than I have. But for the most part, people have seen that they've gotten off what they would see as a slow start. To their credit, they dominated in the second half, and we'll talk more about that later. And while the games haven't gotten away from them in the first half, they hadn't necessarily dominated. So I'm intrigued to hear from your perspective. We've even heard a prediction that shutout is possible in this matchup, which I'm intrigued about. I know you didn't say that, so I'm not putting that on you. But I love your people. What are your thoughts in terms of success for the Rattlers in the first half?
Well, going to that weather point that you brought up, and Coach Simmons talked about weather exposing your fundamentals and the things that you are not doing or haven't been paying attention to with your fundamentals. And I agree with him because as I listen to when I listen to pros and even coaches talk about weather, the one weather element that they say can change a game is the wind. And that may surprise people. It's not the rain, it's not the snow, not the heat. They say it's wind because that affects the passing game and the kicking game as well. So I don't know what the wind condition is going to be in Tallahassee, but if it's just rain, then what we're talking about then is an emphasis again on how you hold the ball, how you tackle, how you wrap up. How you catch the ball. You catching the ball with your hands versus your body. Yes, it can maybe affect the quarterback a little bit, but still, even that, I'm sure they have ways of working through those situations. So I think that was, and I love that approach because what it's telling the guys is don't get caught up on things that you can't control. You can't control the weather. You have control, though, over how you run, block, tackle, and catch. Those are things you have control over. And so that's what I think that's the consistent repetition of Coach Simmons that I have really grown to appreciate about. He talks about standing where you are, being where your feet are. And that's so true. And so I think it sounds mundane to a lot of people, but this is really a process that he has put this team through about focusing on doing their job and doing it well every day and practice, and then one game at a time, 1 week at a time as you go forward. In terms of the first half, FAMU has to – I think getting off to a great start is paramount. Because let's keep it real. We understand that we beat Prairie View the way we did. They understand that. We understand that the expectation, the point spread is like 17.5. It was 20 last time. We jumped on Prairie View 14-0 in the first quarter. I believe if we have another good first quarter, 10-0, 14-0, it's going to send those thoughts back in their head. So all that talk about, hey, we're ready for the moment, blah, blah, blah. We come out and we hit them, not saying we're going to knock them down, but we get a good couple of good jabs early, put them down 10-0, 14-0. All of a sudden, when you go into that second quarter, man, this is starting to look and feel like it did last time. Crowd starts getting a little excited, and the build-up and the momentum is there. So that's important. I think FAMU has to get a good start. I like what Charles said because, yes, if Prairie View is in a close first half, that's giving them momentum. That's giving them hope and encouragement. And so the halftime score last year was 21-7 last time we played. I think we definitely need to have another 2-touchdown lead. I'll take even 10 points going into halftime. I think a 10-point lead in the halftime, I'm not going to say it's going to start putting doubt in Prairie View's mind, but I think a lot of flashbacks will start to come through. Because I've looked at what they've done these last 3 games. The last 3 games, yes, they beat Southern. Yes, they beat Alabama State. And before that, they got back on the winning streak against UAPB. But those weren't games in which they really knocked those teams out, so they had to fight with those teams. So I think the first half goal is going to be get off to a good start, run the ball, which it's always funny. That's what, despite what people think, that's what Coach wants to do. He does want to run the ball. It hit or miss as to whether we, stick with it, whether it's consistent, whether it works. I know that's, but that's what he wants to do. I know what it looks like, and I'm not going to, look, I don't question it anymore, because at the end of the day, Charles, okay, at the end of the day, the offense can be, I don't like to use the word average. It can be B level. The offense can be a B grade because the defense is A+ grade.
Yeah.
It's almost like them old Baltimore Ravens.
That's right.
I'll give you one. Jackson State a year ago.
When
you have great defense, it allows for your offense. Jackson State had a great offense, so they were combining great offense, great defense. But what I'm saying is, when you have a great defense, the offense can have its B moments.
Yeah.
And so that's first half. That's first half thoughts.
I completely agree with you, because from what I've seen with FAMU, especially the defense, it becomes a feeding frenzy. And one good play begets another good play, begets another good play. And, until the offense gets up and going, that defense can carry them. And I think it's, I don't know if the defense is even talked about enough with regards to FAMU, because I just think they look so much, recent history looks so much like Jackson State's defense of the past 2 years. One quick thing, and I remember Coach Dennis Thurman said it last year when Jackson State played Southern, inclement weather, and it made a point that you probably never too much think about, but he just said flat out, some players just don't like to be wet.
Yeah.
And that just stood out to me, because you can sometimes see that as a game progresses, and you worry about things that you can't control, and that becomes sort of a mental something. So, it's almost a thing of, we're going to see who the football players are out there this weekend, because that is part of the game.
Yep.
Good stuff. Let's take our next break. Great points by both of you all, and you're right. It's going to be fascinating. We can see in that game who those players that just like to play the game, no matter what's going on around them, and who are those guys that just don't like to be wet. Stick with us. Be right back after this break.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m.
Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock
in downtown Atlanta.
For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992
or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com.
For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant,
authentic Caribbean cuisine.
Press the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Before we get into this major division marching sport, I love this comment by Edwin D. Moore. He said it's funny to hear Air McNair and Shotgun Simmons focus on the run game. That is a great point by Edwin. It is crazy. Shout out Ralph Cooper is doing his thing. He's saying that asking the question, will Body end up with Prairie View and will he take some players with him? Boy, I tell you, these social media radio streets, boy, they can make things interesting in the off season. And we ain't got there yet. With that being said, let's get back to this marching sport before we all get in trouble. Because I'm taking y'all with me. I just want y'all to know.
Dino Brown
Looking
said
at the marching sport, as we said earlier, this will be a matchup between Jackson State, the Sonic Boom of the South, out of the SWAC, and then we have the independent program in so many ways. That is North Carolina A&T in terms of their band getting it done. So it'll be fascinating when you talk about that with all the love and those matchups going on. When you talk about that marching band there for North Carolina A&T, the marching gold, blue and gold, as they like to talk about over there for North Carolina A&T. They have been a prideful program, particularly when you talk about the East Coast. So Deep South, they may not get a lot of love, but they're pretty known. It's fascinating to me because a lot of folks have found about Norfolk State, and that in a lot of ways is due to credit to the band national band of the year that's here in Houston, with a lot of diverse HBCU programs that mainly focus on the SWAC. Let's be honest with you, they've opened it up to those bands coming out of the East Coast, coming out of the MEAC, coming out of the South Atlantic, particular, both at the mid-major and major division level. So this is another one that's going to feature a huge matchup. In a lot of ways, we thought that A&T Jackson State matchup, which we thought we may see in Atlanta, did not take place for the Celebration Bowl. But you've had both teams participate in the Celebration Bowl. They participated in Classics in Atlanta. A&T has gotten the best of it. So now it's going to be interesting in multiple ways. Sonic Boom, which is hot right now. I mean, I'm not sure I've heard anybody, whether they may have thought their band is doing well and should have been in it. Most people were saying kudos to the Sonic Boom of the South. I'm talking about band head in terms of where they are. So I'm fascinated with this matchup. But with that being said, as we get into the top 7, at number 7, you have Texas Southern. At number 6, you have Florida A&M. At number 5, Alabama State. At number 4, Mississippi Valley State. At number 3, Southern. At number 2, Jackson State. At number 1, Norfolk State. Obviously, you see the band nicknames there. I purposely just called out the university, not the records. This week, and in week 13, again, it is frozen. Let's get back, as I tried to pipe this down a little bit, but now, gentlemen, we're on the marching sport major division. So, Charles, I rudely interrupted you and asked you to wait a moment. So now I'm giving it back to you to go in whatever direction you want to. Hopefully it's about the matchup. But with that being said, Final Four bands for the championship major division style. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, styles make fights, so it's going to be very interesting when you take a look at North Carolina A&T. When I've watched them, they are very thematic field shows, props, and things of that nature. They feature each auxiliary group. Yeah, I mean, they do a very good job with a sort of, this 12-minute, 15-minute format, where you get everything from the flags and everybody. They're featured and things of that nature. And then, SWACs, we don't really do, we don't feature drums like that. We just, that's not a piece of the, except for Purvey, but that's not a piece of the halftime show. But that's something that they do, very much on the East Coast, that you've seen with the MEAC bands. I'm always fascinated by that, in terms of looking at that. But, nobody meets the excitement part with regards to the drum majors, such as Jackson State and their Fab Five. So it's going to be fun. I mean, I think it's going to be, like I said, if you enjoy one style of battle band, you're definitely a Sonic Boom fan. If you're into, the field show, I've heard G Boom Holly talk about, I don't care nothing about the fifth quarter. I want to see what you do at halftime. That, to me, it's like, I've seen enough halftimes where they don't move me, but I get moved by the total experience, 0 quarter, halftime, and fifth quarter. So, that's going to be very interesting to sit back and watch.
Before I go to you, Brian, let me get in here because the social media streets, particularly on inside the HBCU Sports Lab, is on fire. Brandon King wants to get back to the football talk, and so he adds in here, and we'll do this in the last segment, but this is out of control. These folks are good. Everybody needs to come to the real TSU. I like that. That's funny. D. Moore says, if Tennessee State fans went to the Tennessee State games, I could see asking them to come where the fans aren't coming.
Tennessee State, you ain't gonna win that argument. Boy, y'all need to. Oh man, talk to your people, Brandon. Talk to your people, man.
Oh, and Troy gets back in here as we redirect to the major division. He says it's simply known as drum lines.
Drum lines. Drum lines. Exactly.
Bryan, what are your thoughts in terms of the major division, whether we're looking at the top 7? In this case, we do have Jackson State featured number 2 in our band ranking. A lot of contests. They were on fire. We do have them as one loss, but they come in here pretty nice in terms of their matchups, and they are in the top 7. North Carolina A&T has received votes, not a lot of matchups, so it's hard for them to get in the top 7. It doesn't say anything about the quality of the band. I do want to make that clear. Our focus is about matchups, in addition to the sound and what Charles illustrated in terms of those top 3 things, in terms of how do you engage and follow the game. 2, how do you engage with your fans as they follow the game? And 3, in terms of you, in terms of your total focus, in terms of really immersing yourself in that game, with mainly through matchups. With that being said, Bryan, where are you with this matchup? North Carolina A&T and Jackson State. And that's North Carolina A&T State, I will add, when we talk about these matchups. And I know you had a little fun out in those streets, so you can decide you can set it back on fire or you can go in a different direction. The choice is yours.
Hey, it's just something about when the student athletes from Greensboro, as Joshua likes to call them, the little school down the road, or actually they're the big school down the road. If I think about North Carolina Central compared to A&T, the big school down the road. But anyway, I'm not going to get into those interstate squabbles between North Carolinians. I'm gonna stay out of that. It's going to be interesting because the judgment is on the field, correct? That's what you said, Charles. It is on the field and not in the stands, right? So
yeah.
Okay. So see, man, that's already hedging some favorites. If there was a line on that, I don't know how you do lines with bands. I don't even say, but A&T's band has been rated in the top 3, I believe, almost every week of those rankings, right? And so in like 3 different categories. One time I saw like 3 different categories where they were ranked number 1. I'm like, wow, musicianship, wow, showmanship, wow. I know they don't have drum majors that kick and dance and throw back. I know they don't have that. I know they don't have the back. I'm sorry, what was the 5 called again? I don't want to be disrespectful. What's the 5 the drum majors from Jackson State called?
The Fab Five.
The Fab Five. Of course they're the Fab Five. Of course. Of course. They had to be the Fab Five, right? Yeah, there's just something that happened to the Fab Five when they run up against programs from the state of North Carolina. They usually end up failing. So I'm just, I got ahead. No disrespect to the Boom. Very great band, great band. Awesome. Love them. I just got a hedge with the group from North Carolina. It's just something about student athletes and programs from the state of North Carolina when they come to Atlanta, Celebration Bowl weekend, they just shine. So that's what I don't know. I'm still looking for somebody to tell me how to handicap this one, and I'll be looking to see if I can find a line somewhere on the Aggies. But that's where if I had to put some pizza money down, Doc, that's where my pizza money would go, on the Aggies.
Quick question. With North Carolina A&T being in the CAA, if nobody's there, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? They get these high rankings, but hell, who are they battling week in, week out?
You know that you're right. You know, now they have gone up against some HBCUs, right? They went up against Norfolk State. They went up against
Central,
Hampton, Central. I gotta imagine they beat all. I'm imagine they beat all them. I know that's that's not saying much, but I know. I know. And they probably lost to Norfolk State because Norfolk State I saw is unbeaten. So it is kind of sad that my parents' alma mater is not going to be in Atlanta. I don't want to change the rules, Mr. Grant. It'd be nice to have a Final Four. I'm just saying, that way. Let me not do that. Let's appreciate what we have. Let's be appreciative of what we have.
Hey, I don't like to conference, but there was another major conference that changed their rules midway through the season of who was going to represent it in the championship game. Now they tried to say it was just a tweet, but I thought it was curious that they get halfway through it and they hey, we forgot something. Now maybe we need to add this. So hey, why not ask John Grant to go ahead and change things and bring 2 more?
Like the college football playoff system. Bring some more.
Yeah. Nobody will notice. Nobody knows. We had 5 in the first. There was 5 in the last round. So it doesn't matter. We can bring 4. It's all good.
With that being said, again, this is a great opportunity as we kid because we care. We'll be there to support in terms of what's taking place. Again, you can go get your tickets. $20 at bandoftheyear.com, bandoftheyear.com, $20 for this championship matchup. It's the inaugural championship matchup featuring ESPN Band of the Year, as you will have feature matchups with North Carolina A&T Blue and Gold Marching Machine against Jackson State, Sonic Boom of the South in the major division. Division 1, as they like to call it, Division 2 level, which also features NIA. We call it mid-major, is the Florida Memorial, the Roar, versus the Virginia State Trojan Explosion. With that, we'll go to our last break, come back on the other side. We'll talk about the second half. What does the second half look like? Who will raise the SWAC championship trophy as things close out in the second half? We will ask these 2 gentlemen what will need to happen for Prairie View to be successful and what will need to happen for FAMU to be successful. With that, we'll be right back after this last break.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Impress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I have none other than Bryan and AD of SportsWrap. So this will be interesting. We're gonna ask them to be sports analysts, as they truly are, So we're going to look at both Prairie View and FAMU to be successful. Obviously, we would know where their hearts are, and there's nothing wrong with that. We are, to some degree, all part of the family, but these are professionals. So they can take that part off and focus on in terms of that. You've heard us talk about the first half. Just a quick reminder for those that may have jumped in. Charles talked about what would it look like for Prairie View to be successful closing out the first half. He basically talked about a 3-point game, whether Prairie View would be up, for example, low scoring would be up 10-7, or even if they were down 10-7, that would be a winning framework for the Panthers going into half. Bryan came back with his analysis and talked about a 14-point differential. He compared it to the first game where, as Charles said, it looked like potentially it could be tied going into the half, as Prairie View was looking to go down and maybe score a tying touchdown or even take a 14-10 game into halftime, obviously, which is much what Charles associated. Interception that was returned deep in the FAMU territory, credit to the Rattlers, and they were able to score a touchdown both for the half and went in 21-7. Bryan took the same framework. He said he would like to see the Rattlers, in terms of them and they being able to have success of what it looked like, they would need to go in the half with a 14-point differential, meaning they would win 14, something like that, 14-0, 21-7. That would be successful in terms of what it looks like going to the second half, moving forward with that. Welcome to the show, A.D. Drew. With that being said, we're talking about the second half. So I want to know first from you in terms of the Prairie View, what does Prairie View have to go and do in the second half? Essentially, 3 points up or down. If you take that context, what do they need to do in the second half to come out with the victorious? What does the score look like for the Panthers?
Prairie View needs to pray for the weather that's anticipated in this area. Close to 3 to 5 inches of rain over the weekend. 90% chance of rain on Saturday. But Bryan can attest to this. No matter what the weather looks like, for some reason, it seems like you play in a dome when you get to Bragg Memorial Stadium, because it never rains at Bragg for whatever reason. It can rain everywhere else in Tallahassee, but it never rains in Bragg. Prairie View needs that trend to buck. And I'm going to tell you why. If a sloppy game favors Prairie View. So Prairie View with the stronger running game than FAMU. Rain at the level that they're talking about potentially here in North Florida, South Georgia, if you could run the ball effectively, which allows you to shorten the game, and if Prairie View is within a score, either way, either up one score or down less than one score, that's going to favor Prairie View versus FAMU, who has a very pass-heavy offense and has shown times in the past, and Bryan can attest to this, of not showing patience and sticking with what should work or what is working. And if they could get FAMU out of their characteristics and force FAMU to pass the ball in what could be a sloppy, wet field, that will favor Prairie View. It's going to come down. It's going to come down to offense. Prairie View has to find a way to neutralize the number one defense not only
like that,
but in FCS. So
I like that. Great points.
Play things like that are short and safe. If Prairie View to stay with that, they'll win. Now, flipping it over to Fam, and I'll be with that.
Yeah, we're going to come back and get your thoughts in terms of Fams. I want to jump in and get Bryan's thoughts on that side of the ball, and then we'll flip it to FAMU for both of you all. Before we do and go to Bryan to say what it looks like for Prairie View to have success second half closing out the game, what would be the score if Prairie View was to win this game?
You asking me that?
Yes, before I go to Bryan.
I think it would be less than, it would have to be less than 52, 53 points combined. It would have to be in the low 20s.
I agree. Somebody put that up there in terms of Prairie View success when they have like 20 points. So I agree. it's going to have to be like a 2017, maybe 23 type of scoring game, which is hard to imagine that FAMU only scores 20 points. But I can't see them being able to get in the shootout with FAMU and win it, to your point. Again, we're just talking about what does it look like, not in terms of our analysis here of what will happen. We've done that. You've done that on the show, and you had a chance to go in that deep as you have your great segment leading into the matchup, what that looks like. But, Bryan, just in terms of for those, putting our media hats on, saying what does Prairie View have to have going on to be successful in this matchup? Second half, what does it look like for Prairie View to be in this game and it being successful for the Panthers?
So let's continue on with Charles' point where he was saying, let's say the score is maybe a 10-7 ball game at that point. I guess at that point, a couple things would have to happen for Prairie View. I know Drew talked about the sloppiness of the field and the weather, but how about just the sloppiness of the game? I think if FAMU falls into committing turnovers, so if a couple of turnovers happen in the second half, penalties. If now the first time these two teams played, this was one of FAMU's cleanest games where they only committed 4 penalties in the game. But they have had multiple games where they have put up close to 10. So let's just say if that did happen, that's another way in which Prairie View could win this ball game. And then I continue to say, can Prairie View's offense score 21 points? Can they score 3 touchdowns? I'm not sure they can. So what that means is to help out the offense that may only score 2 touchdowns, special teams, defense, maybe a pick 6, maybe a kickoff return or punt return for a score, something other than just your offense scoring on FAMU. I don't know if Prairie View can honestly score 3 touchdowns on FAMU, which is what I think it takes to be in this game. So with all that said, I'm saying all that because I'm talking about an A+ defense that they're going up against at home in their own backyard. That's a tall task. It's not impossible. Prairie View can play a great game. We've seen teams do it where everything clicks, everything works. And if that happens, that's how you beat a team that's a 17.5-point favorite. That's how it happens.
Excellent points by both of you all. I know, obviously, the head flips in there and you're talking about the Rattlers, so it's hard to turn that page. But like professionals you are, I would have to say you just outlined the recipe for Prairie View Panther fans of what's going to be necessary for them to not only be in this game, but find a way at the end to win it. With that being said, let's turn the page. What does it look like for FAMU to come out of this game holding the trophy and punching their tickets instead of Prairie View heading to Atlanta? What needs to be done for FAMU with that crowd celebrating the fact that FAMU has clinched their ticket to the Celebration Bowl, and in all frameworks, especially from the fact that it's after the momentum coming in and joining the SWAC to get it done. With that being said, I'm going to start with you, Bryan, and stay with you. What does it look like in that second half at the end of the game for FAMU Rattlers to be holding up that trophy instead of the Panthers?
Pure dominance in the second half. I think if FAMU is up, as I predict and hope that they will be by maybe 10, 13 points, I just see chaos. I just see that defense wreaking havoc all over the field, and that's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be a problem for Trash Conley. I think those receivers are going to have a hard time getting open because he's going to have a hard time finding. And so that's what it's going to look like. I really feel that this game is going to be won on the defense, and the cushion and the comfort level that the defense is going to give the offense will help. You know, it'll really help that running game. And so, you know, I kind of see. I think this game will probably end up being more of a 31-14 kind of ball game in favor of FAMU. You know, I think Prairie View might get a couple of scores. But again, I go back to, can Prairie View score 3 times? I don't think they can score 3 times on FAMU. You know, and so we'll go there. I think that's what it'll look like.
So what is the score at the final game that means that FAMU has got it done?
31-14, FAMU.
I like the way you broke that down for the success of the Rattlers. Let's go to AD and see his framework of what takes place in the second half, ultimately for the Rattlers, and you all to be in Atlanta preparing and do your work for the game, and you happen to be smiling a little more because your Rattlers are there to take on none other than, oddly of all things, a Miak Howard team that would certainly make it sweet if they can close it out in that match. What does it look like in Tallahassee with the fans excited in terms of getting it done at home and hoping home serve, holding on to the record of where they had dominated in Bragg Stadium? What does that look like for you, AD Drew, for the Rattlers to get it done this Saturday?
FAMU, the game that they played against Prairie View the first time was probably the first time during this season, as much as FAMU has dominated, that I would consider that they played 4 complete quarters. That has to happen again. Willie Simmons is known for making this excellent halftime adjustment. So that's what needs to happen. Pay attention to the first possession of each team in the third quarter.
I like that.
Should FAMU be up, and should FAMU put points on the board in their first offensive possession, then I think it can essentially break the spirit of the Panthers, especially if the defense gets a stop to go with it. That stop either being before the offense takes the ball in the second half, or immediately after if they score their first possession of the second half. So in basketball, we have this term called ODO, and Brian may know what it is. So offense, defense, offense. If FAMU could get one of those in the second half, score, stop, score, if it will break the spirit of the Panthers, and they're gonna be like, here we go again. They did it to us. The second half again. They opened up another can. They had another can on the shelf in the cupboard. But I think that's going to that's it. We already talked about what Prairie View needs to do. One other thing, pay attention to the punch in this game. Their ability to flip the field. Once again, we're talking about potentially a wet, soggy situation. Wet ball gets back there. Does the punter catch it clean? Does it go off the side of his foot because the ball is wet? Same thing with the place kick. Does the holder catch the ball clean and able to get it down? And does the kick get good footing when they're going for those field goals? That's just something else both ways that we need to take a look at. And of course, on the punt and kickoffs or returns, that wet ball coming down, can they catch that ball clean, or will they bobble the ball and it costs them 10, 15 yards on the return because they get those first 3 steps?
Good stuff. What is that score for success of the Rattlers?
38. I'm gonna get an odd score there. I see Prairie View getting a late touchdown, going for 2 and not getting the conversion. So I'm gonna say something like 38-22.
No way they're scoring 22 points. No way they're scoring 22 points. You know that. Stop it. They're not scoring 22.
He said it. He said by the end, y'all cheering champion,
like I said,
and you got the backups in, and they scored late. Good stuff.
How they gonna go for 2 and they won't get the 2.
I like it. You talking about details? That's these guys here. Certainly appreciate y'all joining it. This is the Bryan and AD Sports Wrap. You know where they are. BCSN every Sunday, 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern time. You'll see them next week, and they'll be talking about whether they're celebrating and heading to Atlanta Celebration Bowl, or they're talking about what could be and the Panthers getting it done. Great analysis.
Because I'll be working. We'll be in the press area for the Celebration Bowl, no matter who wins this game.
That's why I tell the coaches. I told them all the time. Friends with both of them. Wish both of them well. Celebrated their opportunities, particularly to work Coach Willie Simmons. And so you're right. I always tell them, y'all can meet me there because I'm there in Atlanta. There's y'all choice whether y'all want to be there or not. So this is the final chapter for both of them being one step from meeting me in Atlanta. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. With that being said, with all due respect in terms of this game, I wish the Rattlers the best, obviously, in this matchup. As a professional, I'm here to give you the news and updates. We wanted to provide you a perspective that was not just fan-driven. We did that on Tuesday and broke down both the offense, defense of both teams, and special teams. We come back on Thursday and give you a breakdown of what it means for Prairie View to be successful in this matchup and what it looks like for FAMU to be successful in the matchup. With that being said, in all seriousness, Bryan and AD, it's a pleasure working with you all, working with BCSN. You're some of the best individuals I talk about in terms of supporting your institution, but being open about dialogue and critiquing where necessary, but being just fair in regards to your analysis. So I appreciate it, and I say touche. With that being said, I do wish you all the best of luck. Good luck this weekend, and may the best team win coming out of that. With that being said, thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. And today we had the great team of Bryan and AD of SportsWrap. With that being said, as you know, on Sundays, we're not sure if we'll be able to bring you a show, particularly at our time. We will be seeking to get on an airline to get back here safely, one way or the other. We will keep you updated and let you know. If we don't do that, you will get your update that Sunday night for Bryan and AD on SportsWrap. I might even find my way to join that show if they allow me to grace the cover one way or the other, to either saying congratulations, sitting back smiling where they might not let me on because the Prairie View Panthers have won. We'll see what that looks like. But again, in all seriousness, good luck with everything that's going on there. Check out DJ Jones, curator of HBCU Weekly, Joshua Sims Jr., curator of HBCU Nightly. Obviously, all that going on there. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock, Sundays at 9 a.m. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, that's DrKenyattacavil, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. As you know, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. With that being said, shout out to Roy. I know he's behind the machine and gets it done for all of us, but his heart bleeds green and orange as well. So wish him the best of the luck as well with his team. It would be a great opportunity. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Bryan? Of
course.
AD?
Lecture.
Dismiss. Too much Rattler.